think what we will do is in this session we will tell you who we are, what we're doing together, discuss the future of poster sessions, right? So let me just mute everybody and turn it more into a panel discussion with me, Tamsin, right? And Tyler. Turn all the mics on.
Tamsin, you're muted.
Now we're good. Now we're in spotlight, I think, right? So we're going to make this an interactive session, and I think what's most important is that we discuss the future of poster sessions together, how we work together as Kubify NetworkTables. You will see that in the next session, which will pop up at 4:30 or 3:30, depending on your time zone. In the end, we have a Q&A session. Well, maybe Tamsin, you can start with who you are.
Okay. Well, hello everyone, and thanks very much for joining today. I know some of you, and I hope to get to know the rest of you during this session. My name is Tamsin Jones. I'm one of the co-founders of Kubify. One of my fellow co-founders, Raymond, is in on this meeting as well. And to find a little bit about where I come from, before setting up Kubify, which was about 4 years ago now, I had been a researcher in educational technology for many years. And I set up Kubify with Raymond and my other co-founders because I'd seen big problems with the way in which poster sessions were run at conferences and seen many ways in which we could improve them. So that's where Kubify came from, and we're going in lots of other different directions as well. And I'm be interested to hear on this call what your experience, particularly over the last 2 years, has been of poster sessions and how well they're working for you.
Yeah, I'm Matthijs. I'm founder of NetworkTables, which is a tool for pre-scheduling yourself at sessions, roundtables. Basically, we make sure that people show up at roundtable sessions, one-on-one meetings, and general sessions by letting them pick it in advance, so that you really can see with whom you're going to be around a table. And I think you're currently using our platform to have booked yourself into sessions in a very easy way, and now also to hold the session in a nice way where you can easily switch from session to session. And I think where we met is Tamsin and me found each other because we started working together for a customer where there was a big need to take their poster sessions virtually to the next level. Right, Tamsin, maybe you can tell me more about that.
Absolutely. So the conference that used our two platforms together was called Future Physiology, and they essentially, like so many of us, had to move very quickly to an online conference when the pandemic hit. And they wanted to give their poster authors as high a profile in the online conference as they had in the face-to-face conferences. And so they were particularly interested in looking not only at Kubify and how we let people put much richer interactive e-posters together, but they wanted to see what they could do online that would actually let those poster authors have the kind of in-depth, informal discussions that they might have had at a face-to-face poster session. And that's why they looked at a roundtable format and chose NetworkTables as the platform for those roundtable discussions. And as Matthijs said, that's where we first met, was getting that conference together and getting the posters and networking tables working very well together.
Yeah, and we don't want to make this like too much of a presentation. That's why we included you all in here in a video call. So our main question to you, is how do you currently do poster sessions? It's very specific. We know that, like, for scientific events, poster sessions are one of the things. So Beth or Alison Miranda or Raymond or like Elizabeth, like how do you currently, we want to share if you like how you currently organize poster sessions in the past and how you did it virtually. Alison, maybe?
Sure, I can jump in. Virtually, I mean, we used the showcase, Kubify in the online showcase, but actually it was something we struggled with. Was we you know, whereas at a normal conference we would have had poster walks or oral presentations, that wasn't something that we managed to integrate into an online conference. So this is very interesting.
Good. And anybody else, like, can anybody share, like, how do you normally organize poster sessions? Like, do you use Zoom rooms virtually or physically? Like, what do you do? Like, do you let people pre-select them up front, or if people are just walking around? Like, how are you doing that, Alison?
We weren't, to be honest, we weren't. We just were putting up the showcase on our virtual platform and encouraging the poster authors to sort of tweet and share their e-poster, and you know, trying to encourage the attendees to make sure that they looked at the showcase and also to message the authors. But we didn't get to the stage of doing like discussions or Zoom breakouts or anything like that.
Alison, how did you use posters when it was pre-COVID?
Yeah, pre-COVID we had different things. So we have had conferences where we've had quite extensive facilitated poster walks that have been very organised. People can book and they're led by a facilitator. We've had ones where we've had sessions where the presenters have made oral presentations. But the facilitated poster walk, that was really the main thing that we used.
Okay. And the facilitated poster walk, do you want to just very briefly describe how that worked?
Yes, so the main conference that we use that at, there's about 200 posters grouped by theme. So we would have small walks every break time, or actually they had appointed sessions. So rather than go to a session, you could join a facilitated poster walk where you would be in a group of say 10 people with a leader, if you like, and you would maybe go around 10 posters maybe. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but maybe 10 posters, and the authors would give a sort of 2-minute elevator style pitch to the group, and then they could have some Q&A and then move on to the next poster.
Right. And Beth, how have you been organizing? Do you have any experience with organizing poster sessions?
Yes, so pre-COVID, when we were doing our in-person meetings, they were very traditional poster sessions. We would have them during the lunchtime hour with the presenters standing in front of their poster and the attendees browsing at their leisure. When we did our virtual program, the platform that we used had a method of doing poster sessions. It wasn't, we would do it really differently if we had to do it again. You know, the attendees really enjoyed it because the posters were PDFs and they could really zoom in and look at things and save them. And, you know, so, they preferred it to the more traditional way we've been doing it in the past. But what we were missing is, I think a lot, like what Alison just said, we were just missing the opportunities to really get people engaged and to really drive them to those poster sessions. So it was more left to the attendees to come across the posters versus us finding a way to get them more involved and engaged.
May I ask, like, so when they're in the session online, they need to share their screen, or like how does it work? Like they find PDF, like how does it work?
No, it was sorry,
uploaded beforehand, or
because I was going to show you, but
Yeah.
essentially it just had a list of all the posters and the presenter for each one, and then they could click on them and see the poster or go to the information information about the presenter.
But it was not a video call, or was it?
It was not a video. No, we had no live. And we did our virtual, I wouldn't say early on, it was in September of 2020. And so we did our program over the course of an entire month versus having a 2 or 3 day meeting. And so the posters were available for the entire month of September.
But they didn't have any video calls, but just mainly like looking at posters online. That's interesting. So do you think is there an opportunity like to do something like that? Like if you would have something that people can easily discuss posters, would that be something you're interested in?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to do a virtual poster session again, yes, I would want to do something where we'd be able.
What would you change? What would you change? Like both Alice and Beth, like what would you change if you would do virtual poster sessions again?
Well, I think for us, instead of having, I mean, we would still have them up for the entire month. I think the advantage of that is that people have the opportunity to really spend time with the posters they were interested in. But I would definitely include some type of live component where the author was available to answer questions. This left the way that we did it, left the responsibility on the attendee to reach out to the speaker and then for the speaker to have to respond to them. And this was all either in the platform or offline. But we didn't help facilitate any of that, and I think that's what we do differently. Is that we would assist.
So facilitate, bring together the attendees and the sponsors, and make it easier for them to basically just show up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
How were they communicating? Like, if there wasn't like a facilitation with it, like emails, they just send an email if they had a question or something like that.
Yes, so there was our platform had the ability to communicate through the platform. We did not have a lot of people utilizing the platform to communicate, however. And actually each individual poster had a message board associated with it, but most of them stayed blank. So it was primarily people went back and relied on email to communicate with each other.
So is there anyone else like that has an interesting experience to share? Like how did you organize poster sessions recently? Like Martina, maybe you can say something, or Miranda.
What we have done in the last year is people have presented their poster in a short video, and then those videos were online for a couple of weeks before the conference. People could leave a comment and then the authors could respond to that comment. So often you get quite a good conversation going. And actually we did the same thing for papers and paper presentations, because if you have a normal 3-day 4-track conference, I mean, you don't really make good use of the advantages of online if you put that same format online. So we'd have, I don't know, maybe 120 presentations online for 4 weeks. And then the oral presentation would just be longer than the poster presentation, and people could comment. And then on the live days, everybody would just pitch their paper or their poster very shortly, and then there'd be room for discussion. And that way you'd only have like 1 or 1.5 live days. And that's what we did. And we've also done poster sessions in Zoom where people would pitch their posters for a couple of minutes, and then they'd all go into individual breakout rooms, and people could then choose which breakout room they wanted to go to and discuss the poster in more detail with the author.
And is it a chaos? Like, is it difficult for you to organize such events for all of you, like Martina, Alison, like Beth, like all of these links, all of these people moving from room to room? Or
You learn.
part of your daily life?
No, it works okay. I mean, usually fewer people show up than have registered. I guess you've all made that experience, even for the paid events. But no, I think people have learned, and it works quite well.
And how do you think we can bring poster sessions in general to the next level? What should we like? What would be ideal?
I don't know. I'm looking to you for answers.
Alison, Beth, any ideas like that you say, like, oh, if this could be possible, like this is going to be like good for the.
I mean, I think I mean, Zoom is, Zoom works, the breakout rooms, once you understand it, you can navigate it. I don't really know the answer. I think like Martina, just looking to see what's out there, and everything is so new now. We're in just a new world,
Yeah.
You're just hoping that you're going to find something that, we found Kubify by chance. And I feel like that's what the last 2 years have been like.
Good. Let's discuss the future of posters. I think Tamsin can tell a lot about that. So I will let's Tyler give the word to Tyler and Tamsin mostly, and see, like, let's just do a quick recap, like what are poster sessions in generally, what do we think is wrong with it or not? And
So
how can we do it differently?
After this, in a couple of minutes, we'll go into the actual poster session itself. But I wanted to go into depth with you, Tamsin, a bit about like why do people run poster session? What is the point of a poster session?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that question based on my experience before I set up the company as a academic and researcher, and also on the discussions I've had with customers over the years as well. So in my experience, the reason why conferences tend to run poster sessions is they're usually a space and an area for either early career researchers or researchers at a relatively early stage. And the key thing that you want from these poster sessions is to give those researchers the opportunity to share their work, but to share it particularly in a way that will encourage them getting feedback from other people and ideas, and also in a way that will allow them to find people who are working in a similar area so that they can potentially collaborate. And another thing for researchers that's important is other people citing and building on their work. So you want to try and allow people to share their work in a way that encourages all of that. That's my view. I'm interested to hear whether the people on the call who have run poster sessions actually think that there are other aspects, other reasons for poster sessions that are not covered by that. Or does that sound familiar to you?
Do most people tend to agree with that, the purpose of poster sessions? Yeah. Okay, but so what's
I always take silence as a agreement.
Maybe Elizabeth Wilson, we didn't see you speak yet. Like, what do you think? Or I think she doesn't have any audio. Yeah.
I do.
What do you think is the purpose of poster sessions? Like, why the hell do people run poster sessions? Why should you ever do that?
I think it's what everybody's already said, but also the chance to meet people by chance as well, who are walking by, and get a discussion going amongst a number of people. And I think it's really hard to replace that face-to-face interaction with anything that's online. We're finding that, and we've used Kubify in our most recent virtual congress. We are finding that our clients are probably quite traditional, and they are thinking that they would like to go back to the traditional poster sessions. We're trying to work out if there's this kind of a hybrid that we could do, that when we have a live event, that we still have the traditional poster boards, but maybe to complement it, have the posters online as well, so that post-event, for example, we had all our posters available until a month after the actual virtual event. So maybe we could do some sort of combination.
Hybrid is certainly all the rage right now.
And if people like it, like Elizabeth, like if people like to continue that, like why don't you, and also if people like come together for these sessions, why don't you keep doing that all year long? Like, the months after, not only make the post sessions available, but also schedule it as separate sessions that people, if they want, they can still continue that discussion. Could be something for thinking, right?
Yeah, it could be.
So Tamsin, like, what's actually wrong with poster session at the moment? What you're saying?
Okay, well,
How
I
people
mean,
currently organize that? Yeah.
obviously, some of the points that have been raised already are some of the issues with if people do post the sessions in a way that doesn't bring people together, because that's an important thing, bringing the people together. And I think, although there's a lot of, although, you know, Elizabeth said about people having traditional views and thinking that the paper poster boards are an effective way of doing it. I think, and there's, if you've not watched it already, I'll maybe send it out after this session. There's a really nice video by an American researcher called Mike Morrison about paper poster sessions and how they don't necessarily bring the right people together. You do have people walking past your paper poster who come and talk to you, but actually in a field of paper posters, you don't necessarily find the right people to talk to. And often, if all the poster authors are standing at their posters, then they don't manage to talk to each other. And often these are people that you'd like to actually talk to each other. So that's one of the problems, is actually getting people in to talk to each other in a way that's meaningful, rather than social chit chat, which is lovely, but isn't necessarily going to help with developing that author's work. And the other issue is that the paper posters or the PDF poster format is actually not terribly engaging. Most researchers now have more interactive, more interesting ways of sharing their research, or more depth that they want to give you on their research. The interview guidelines they used in their research, background papers, and so I think you find that the information that's being shared at the conference isn't actually enough to really understand somebody's work and take it further, which, like I said, is often one of the goals of sharing the work in the first place. And then Elizabeth said about the posters being available for longer, and that's great. I think actually that is a definite plus over the paper posters, which are only on display for the days of the conference. And I've seen people walking around one of these on-site conferences taking photographs of paper posters, hoping to go back to them later, and that's not a terribly effective way of going back to it. So if the posters can be presented in a way that actually means that you can go back to them easily afterwards, you can favorite posters, go back to the ones that you're most interested in, you can go back to them months or even years after the conference. I think those are really big benefits that we should be looking at trying to bring into this format.
But look at the current way the post sessions are organized, yeah. Tamsin, because we have only 5 more minutes, and then I think Clara has some questions about how to run it differently and what you like about the roundtable format and stuff. So I think four more questions. So can you quickly, like in 30 seconds, like show us like how a normal poster session is run online? So imagine this is a poster session. We're now on a video call. Can you share your poster? That would be normal.
Okay, so you mean you want me to actually be a poster presenter?
Let's do that.
Okay, so you mean in a traditional share a PDF way?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I would obviously need to find
Okay, guys, it's taking already too long, right?
PDF, yeah, okay.
Very annoying process for us to
Oh,
wait.
wait, hang on.
Still waiting, all right?
Yeah, well, look, if I had known, I would have been a bit more prepared.
I think this is always how it goes, right? So I don't know if you recognize this. Your speakers, like, you know. So, did you already found the file, Tamsin?
Yeah, right. So now getting back to where we are. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share. I think you can see. I should actually put this into.
So here you go. I think we should stop here already, right? Like, oh, I cannot really see it. Can you make it a bit bigger?
No, no, this is full screen mode, so this is how it is. Sorry.
So you see, so I think this is what we mean. Like, I think this is very important. Like, we have only 3 more minutes left. And you see the kind of hassle she has, right?
It's a typical virtual poster
So
session.
if you were just sharing the paper poster, then this is then this is what it would this is how it would kind of look like, I would guess.
And what are some of the other benefits of the roundtable format? Like for having people discussing.
And how do you think you can run it differently together? So I think it's 2 questions combined. How can you use Kubify to run like a poster session in a better way, combined with NetworkTables?
Okay, so I know some of you are familiar with Kubify already. So what Kubify does, first of all, is allow people to put lots of different content into their poster. So not just a PDF, they can put in videos, they can put in links to websites, they can put in documents that inform their research. So they're giving you a package of information about the work they've been doing. So that's one of the advantages, and it makes a showcase, which Alison referred to, where you can find and search for all of the e-posters. What that then allows you to do, like Elizabeth mentioned, is to, and someone else, sorry, I mentioned, I think Martina mentioned, is that you can share those posters before your live event. So people have a chance to go in and explore the posters beforehand, and then in your live event, make the best use of the time of bringing people together and actually have discussions rather than presentations. And that's what I really love about the roundtable format for posters, is it puts the emphasis on actually discussing the work with people rather than simply presenting the work to people.
Yeah, and we will experience this. I think you will soon get a pop-up, like in 1 minute or so, and we will move you into a real poster session on our platform, so you can really see what we think is the future of poster sessions, which is a combination of Kubify and NetworkTables. But Tamsin, so what's exciting about roundtables to run in NetworkTables? Why not just do it without our tool? Why is it needed?
Well, I think one of the things that I really liked about NetworkTables is the way that people can easily book onto the sessions ahead of time and unseat themselves and move themselves around if they want to be somewhere else. So you're giving the delegates really nice control over where they're going to be. And then they can see ahead of time who else is going to be in that roundtable session. So that's nice to see.
And how does that work for like a hybrid?
So Tyler, okay. And moving from session to session, right?
Yeah, and the easy moving from session to session. And then I think one of the things you'll see when we move into the session in a minute
I think
is
now
that the way you have it set up in NetworkTables, it actually allows people to interact with the e-poster themselves during.
Did you all get a pop-up now? Yeah. So if you can see on top, or in the pop-up, you can move now to the next session and we'll do a poster discussion.
I didn't get a pop-up.
So doesn't matter, Raymond, just follow your schedule.
Click on the link
He's an
on the
admin,
left.
that's fine.
Okay, so I think have we got most people in now?
Yep.
Okay, so Matthijs and Tyler have set this up as a roundtable with an e-poster actually already embedded and available in the roundtable. So this would mean that people have been booked onto the roundtable session, they joined it. This e-poster, I should say, is a real e-poster from the Future Physiology Conference, made by an author called Amy Priestler. So thank you very much, Amy, for agreeing for us to use it here. In the model, people like many of you have already done would have been able to explore the e-poster ahead of time. But when they joined the roundtable, the e-poster is also already there. So the author, if we pretend that I'm Amy, can do at this stage, when you all join the round table, I can do my 3-minute pitch to explain what my work is about. But while I'm pitching and explaining what my work is about, you can also already independently be exploring this e-poster, because each one of you, if you click on the things in the e-poster, you're not affecting what other people are seeing. You're independently exploring it here. So I can tell you about my work. Then you can ask me questions. You will already have had a chance to look at it beforehand. When you ask me the questions, I will also be able to pinpoint and tell you where in the poster you can find some of your answers as well. So
I also really like that I can see it now, you know, like not so small anymore. It's bigger, it's like structured.
So I don't know if you want to explore on your side, but you'll see the different tiles in here. So if you click on the abstract, you'll see quite clearly and readable the abstract for Amy's work. As Matthijs was saying, there's a traditional poster in there, which you can click on it. It opens it up in a viewer that allows you to zoom in and out on it as well. And download. I think Martina said about the importance of allowing people to download, although we do let authors can opt out, so the e-poster is not downloadable if you don't want that. So Amy's put in a traditional poster, but again, as some of you mentioned, she's also put in videos. So if you clicked on it, you would see that she's put in a short presentation, 5 minutes. So if I was looking at her work ahead of the conference, I'd probably look at the short presentation, the 5-minute video, to the abstract of that to see, is Amy's work one that I want to join the round table and have a chat with her about. And if I wanted to find out about her work in more detail, you'll see that she's smartly also included separated longer videos giving extra detail about her work as well. So, so you can see here that there's a lot of material. This is quite a simple e-poster that I think is effective. There's a lot of material in there that you're able to interact with both ahead of the session and during it. And then in the session itself, the author can concentrate on pitching the poster and fielding your questions about that.
And as I understand, the presenter connect is kind of like a tour guide, because you're free to click. It's not a video, it's not a sharing your screen. The person is free to click themselves.
Yes, so everyone on this call should be able to explore this poster independently.
What I really like about Kubify is that, because I'm not doing photo sessions every day, I think Tamsin is. So as an outsider, how I would see it is that instead of looking at a boring PDF, which you barely can see, or someone needs to zoom, like, first of all, I think in terms of structure and in terms of organization, there's less need for preparation for your speakers. And most of the time, the scientific speakers are not very technical. So it's better for them to just be in a room and I have everything already prepared. And what I really like myself is that I can just click around. I can go to traditional poster sessions, go there and click it, to the abstract, to the videos. I think it's way more engaging, right, Tamsin? I think that's what also some people have been saying. We want to make these posters more engaging. Is that one of your challenges?
Yeah, so I think from our point of view, our emphasis is on making the content as engaging as possible. And then how they're actually used in the conference, what platform they're used to have the discussions or the pictures or the round table. That's not the side we do, which is why we're very interested in seeing what NetworkTables does. And what I like about what the NetworkTables does, as I say, is the fact that we came into this round table and the e-poster is already there. There's no time lost with me sharing the screen or anything. And like before. And that people can independently explore the poster as well. So the author can either do a kind of tour and tell people to go and look at various bits of it, or we can actually use the session for what I think is the most important part, which is not so much the presentation, but people who had a chance to look at the poster, starting to directly ask you for some questions. So if you like, it's similar to the way that I don't think in the good side of the paper poster sessions at an on-site conference is when you get two or more people stood at a poster having a really in-depth discussion. And I think when those work, what you find is that they're not really reading from top to bottom of that paper poster. Of course they're not. They're actually focusing on the discussion. Later on, they will go and they will either they've looked at the content beforehand or they'll be exploring the content in depth later. And the content's important, but when you've actually got people together, it's the discussion that's important.
I think as well that it forces, like with a typical virtual thing, you kind of sit back trying to read the PDF. But with this, with the clicking, you have to sit forward and click around to do it. You're like we said, engaged, and I think that promotes some discussion as well. Like the fact that you're doing it yourself, what you're looking at is what you're going to talk about, rather than being told.
What I also like is that you can do it in advance, so that you can already check out these poster sessions in advance and click around and really come in session prepared. So both for the speaker and for the attendees, I get in prepared. So even with physical events and in-person events, you will get in prepared. If there's the bell again, it means we're rounding up and in 2 minutes we're shifting to the Q&A session. But this is the thing. So it helps me as a speaker, but also for the attendees, prepare for your session. So you're obviously getting better quality events, correct? Tamsin, like if you zoom in on this particular networking or meeting poster session concept.
Yeah, so I think the key thing is to actually bring people together to discuss the content. That's in my mind. I come from an educational research background, and I see that as a key thing is having rich content, but actually making sure that you can support people having those discussions. And I think NetworkTables does that really nicely during the meeting. You'll see if you look at the poster that's in the screen, you'll see there's a speech bubble at the top of it. Each Kubify poster has its own chat channel, so that that asynchronous discussions can start before the conference and continue afterwards as well, and are attached to the poster. So we deal with the content, we deal with the asynchronous discussion. So I think what NetworkTables deals with very nicely is the live discussion with the content already available to explore as part of that.
Yeah, and I understand it with the chat. Yeah.
So now we're going to move to the next section. I think everybody sees the chat and the pop-up now on the screen. Let's go there, yeah?
Okay, then we can have Tyler's questions.
Yeah, exactly. Professional and asking last minute questions, Tyler. Right before we're going to the next section, we start asking questions.
I've got 30 seconds to plenty of time. Well, I was going to say how those questions, they're the kind of text questions people, as I understand it, people drop in their questions and wait for an answer. Like it's not really a rush.
Yeah, so those would be for the kind of asynchronous, it's not live discussion, because if you've got people together, let's actually talk and have the discussion together. But the chat function on there is for before and after the session. That would be the aim of the chat. That's how the chat function is used.
Cool. I think this is a Q&A session, right? Like, I think what's very good to mention is you said, like, oh, like how it goes with virtual events, people just drop off at some point. I think it's very good to see that we're still with literally 11 people. We started with 11 people, and we're now still with 11 people, and we have 2 times that. That's the only thing. Like, Beth, I think, duplicated herself. If you click away one of your Chrome browsers, then let's see. anyway, like, I think it's now time for to ask questions, right? Like, what do you guys think of Tamsin's story? Like, does it make all sense? Like, do you think this is the future of, imagine if you have to do a virtual poster session again, would you think this makes all sense to do it a bit differently? Martina or Beth or Elizabeth? Can you hear me?
I think that's probably undecided. So do you want to, if you're undecided, I'm quite happy to hear about which aspects of this you're not so sure about as well. Which you like and which you're not so sure about.
Yeah, Beth, maybe.
Martina, I think Martina's trying to talk but is muted. Are we able to unmute them?
I asked her to turn the mic on now.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. I'm really happy with the combination of having the material and the chance to talk at the same time, because this is very much, it looks a lot nicer than what we have, but this is basically what we offer as material before the conference. So we often have a short version, a long version, and the PDF and the abstract, but it's not as compact, not as nice looking. And it's actually separate from when we have the live poster session, where we assume people have watched this beforehand, whereas in your solution here, they can actually watch it while the other person talks. So I think that's a really, really nice solution. I really like it. I was wondering, with the chat bubble, it offered like to log in with LinkedIn, Google, whatever. If we integrated this into an event platform, would it be open for anybody logged onto the platform, or would they still have to log into each? And do they have to log into each chat separately for every poster, or is it just one login and then they can comment and participate in all the chats?
So that's a good question. At the moment, we don't have a kind of single sign-on with any particular virtual platform, although of course that is something that we could look at. That's one of the reasons why we offer the sign-ins via Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, because that's usually very easy for people. The thing is, if I sign into one poster, it'll remember me for the next session. So there's only one time you'd sign in, and then it wouldn't prompt you again.
I think Kirsi Maria. That's, I think you said, are you also there? Where are you? Like, do you have any questions? You said you use the poster method live and think we also work virtual in the chat. No answer.
Tamsin, how would this work for like hybrid? Like, this shows how it will work online, but how does it work in a kind of hybrid environment? How can you improve that?
So Raymond's helping me here. We have a kind of, there's a money no object version of using Kubify on site, and there's a let's say good value and more sustainable option. So the money no object version, of course, people can hire in touch screens and the e-posters on the touch screens, which is equivalent to allowing people to browse around the showcase. And then you can, of course, still have roundtable sessions that people could book onto using the actual face-to-face roundtable sessions, which you could either have booking onto or more free flow, depending. Nowadays, I think there are probably advantages to booking onto with the pandemic. What Raymond was holding up is that actually, I don't think the touch screens are, you're certainly not going to want to hire a touch screen per poster. That's ridiculously expensive and not very green. So actually the way we first designed the system was that when an author makes an e-poster in our platform, it also makes what we call a mini poster that Raymond's holding up. It's like an advert. for the poster. The author chooses a picture, some text, and it has a QR code on it, which directs you to that author's interactive e-poster. So then you have a wall of those on display at your on-site conference. People can browse them easily, scan the QR code, and they actually then have the interactive poster, just like we were seeing it in the round table room there, but they have it on their phone and can play the videos, explore the material. That's Raymond showing. Thank you, my nice assistant, on the phone. So for hybrid, I think what's nice there is that you can therefore have the physical event with the mini posters and people exploring the posters that way, but you can still also have people joining and looking at the showcase and maybe joining a virtual round table to explore the posters as well. So I know we have some conferences next year that are doing this, where they're going to have some people exploring the posters. The e-posters will be available on site, but some of the roundtable discussions or poster pitching will be taking place online to also bring in the audience who's not traveling to come on site. And that's also one of the advantages with that chat thing, because that chat area then becomes an area where those two communities, those two audiences can meet.
And then how does the round tables environment work? Mostly, we've seen how the round table works on the online, but then the round tables on the on-site.
Well, round tables on site, you would just set up as round tables and have sessions where people could come and have the round table. And I think that's where you, depending on your format, depending on the particular pandemic rules at the time, you might want to just let people drop in and sit around the table to have a discussion with people, or you might want to actually get them to use some platform such as NetworkTables that would allow them to book onto a round table.
I think in the chat there's a very interesting topic going on. Like
Tell me.
Myself, I've only 10 more minutes, but what people are asking, like that mainly, and Raymond has a very good point, which I totally agree with Raymond. It's like that is asking, so we're struggling with, like how to organize hybrid poster sessions, hybrid events. And I think what Raymond's saying, I think is exactly what I share. Like hybrid does not necessarily mean you need to combine that. And I think that's very important for poster sessions. Don't combine it. So rather, what you need, I think, is how to run poster sessions in a hybrid way is, first of all, you should do it. You should not exclude people saying, oh, you can only see it online, or oh, you can only see it physically. No, I think if the poster sessions are taking place physically, the people that attended the event physically should watch it, let's say, on the 15th of December. Then I think 2 days later, you should have those exact poster sessions, but then online, so that not only the online participants can only attend those online participant discussions, like poster discussions with only online participants, no, also the physical attendees will be included in this online moment, and could be seen as a way, if you go to a hybrid event and I'm a physical attendee, it means I can attend twice as much poster sessions as before, and still meet people internationally that are not allowed to travel or are not eager to travel. So I think instead of combining it and, like walking around with your phone or your tablet or your laptop and sitting in like a corner, you don't want your attendees to do that. I think you want to really, like with poster sessions, really split it. So there's, for every concept, I would say there's another advice, right, on how to run things like in a hybrid way. I think for poster sessions, I think definitely split it. Don't combine it. What do you think about this, Tamsin?
Yeah,
do you agree or disagree, maybe?
No. I actually do agree, because I think the complexities of trying to do a poster session that is running online at the same time as, live streaming of something that is happening on site and live streaming it to an online round table or any other format is unnecessarily complicated. Probably, yeah. I wouldn't go down that route, and I can see advantages to what you're saying of actually giving people the opportunity to attend more poster sessions. I think we all know that there are many times where people are scheduled with many parallel sessions. They can't go to everything they want. So if you actually run them dual, then it means that your audience will also, your authors will also get more audience, which is what they want from the event.
In the end, what's most important there, I think, is that an online participant should only be able to see the online sections, not the physical sections, because then they would sign up by accident for a physical, like, poster session, and then they would find out they're not even showing up. So that's why you need like some sort of platforms, like NetworkTables, for example, that allow you to filter what attendees can see on the platform. So what sessions they can choose, so that they are just limited and that they don't, again, make it easy for them to do stuff. Like try to put them into a funnel, make it like, let's just say proof, like bulletproof for them.
Beth, what are your, I mean, how are you thinking at the moment you're going to cope with hybrid, or are you deciding not to cope with hybrid?
We are currently deciding not to cope with hybrid.
Yeah.
We're presenting our online programming is different than our in-person meeting, but this was just making me think about how we can incorporate poster sessions into that virtual program. But I hadn't really thought about presenting our in-person poster session also as a virtual poster session, like at a later date.
Well, something that I thought that might actually fit Matthijs' idea has just struck me with something interesting as well. Our platform lets you see the analytics of how many people have looked at posters. So something that you could do as well that I've discussed with a few conferences is you could have your face-to-face conference and you could have people do the, everything there. And then afterwards, you could look at the analytics and you could see which of these posters were getting a lot of attention. Is it actually worth having a follow-up event, which would be a round table around certain posters because they were actually getting seen as being very interesting? Would people come and join a later virtual session? And that could be open both to the people who originally came to the conference, but also open up to a new audience as well, because you've got evidence that people find that poster interesting.
And you could base that on, like, if loads of people found this particular one interesting, then we'll do a breakout. But nobody found that one interesting, well, no problem. But you can analytics to see what's much problem.
If there's still some questions, like as I recap, like myself, I will have only 5 more minutes, but you can continue the session, of course. Like as I recap, it's like hard to replace physical with online. Let's see if you guys think now change that vision to hybrid. Try hybrid. So post events, we all have poster sessions available. Also, you said it's not as complex and nice looking, as nice looking as it is now. I think Beth said that, or someone else. And it's separate, like before it was separate, and now it's really like combined and compact. Like I'm curious, like any questions about how this would work for your events, like the whole combination of Kubify and NetworkTables? Like Martina, Lisbeth, Alison, Beth. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. Do you understand like how we combine our tools together to get the best out of poster sessions now?
I definitely understand that, and it looks really good. I think.
Why do you think it looks good? Like, why do you think it's good? Why do you think it's shit?
No, that's why it's Dutch and very direct.
Right.
I can say that because Raymond is my partner and also Dutch.
So maybe a bit more extreme, yeah.
No, I like it. I like the live stream and that people can click and click in the poster while the person is talking. And I'd be interested to sort of find out more about, and this is just all kind of back end stuff, but I'd be interested to see more about how we can build in people booking onto sessions, but that's sort of further down the line. I think my big sort of question and thing that we have to think about is how we is that how we make it work for hybrid event, and I totally get the point about that they don't have to happen at the same time. So that is something that we need to think about. And I'm sure what everybody on this call is finding is that we have a lot of clients who don't seem to understand that running a hybrid event is not the same amount of work as running just one in-person event. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea to extend it by doing the video poster sessions, but you know, we also have to figure, well, that's more work, and the client has to take that into consideration. So it's just all a lot of food for thought, but really interesting, really interesting.
Yeah, I have a question. Some of you may already know this, but I come sort of unprepared. So I was just wondering, how does this poster module fit in with other conference platforms, or is it possible to just book this poster module? Because, for example, we run our online conferences on a platform of our own. It's basically just a WordPress website that, you know, has lots of interfaces with other systems, with our conference management system, and also with other platforms. I don't know whether you know Skooks, for example. So would it be possible to, you know, to just book this poster module for one of our conferences?
The answer is yes for that. It's an independent platform, and it can be, the showcase part can be embedded inside other platforms. Of course, what I do like, and I've said earlier on the call, is the thing with NetworkTables. What you saw that was really nice there was, one, the booking onto the sessions ahead of time, seeing who else is there, and also that nice thing of having the e-poster there so people can click and explore it during it. So I haven't myself seen another platform that would that would support all those sides of that, but of course it depends what you're looking for.
I think it's also a question for us, as actually trying to. It's also one of my last questions I can answer, and I leave you to continue this conversation. But I think what you're asking is, like, can we embed NetworkTables with Kubify inside NetworkTables onto our own website? And the answer is a big yes. Like, that's what people do all the time. People use 3D platforms where people walk around and still use NetworkTables for their poster sessions or video calling rooms, because they really like the specific element, and it's very important part of their event. But they want to have like this whole other, like, if you have your own website and you are happy to let people register there and see the program, then you can easily, with one single script, add NetworkTables and make it a separate page on your website so that people can literally follow the full event, like what we're doing here, in your website.
Okay, that was exactly my question. So
that's
thanks,
question,
that's
right?
really helpful. Yeah.
And are you thinking of, like, would this add benefit, like, to your event? Like, do you run on a certain platform, or do you run on your own website?
Well, we run on our own website, but then it's password protected if it's a paying event, obviously. So
if you want, we can discuss, like, follow up on this, for example, with Tamsin. Basically, as I understand, also Alison, follow up with Alison to see, like, you know, how can you build people booking into sessions, how make it possible for hybrid events, right?
Yeah, actually, we're not, for this year, we have one hybrid event and everything else is still online. All the events that sort of realized they wouldn't be able to do a proper in-person event this year have all postponed to next year. So we're still very much, especially for the bigger conferences, in online mode for 2022.
Because that we just discussed how we think it could be run more efficient, more smoothly, better, right?
That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going, but I leave you to it. I'll leave you to continue discussion, I think, with Dala. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think Raymond had a question or a comment.
Yeah, no, I would like to add something. So what I see is that quite often when people think about their event, they think about their event as in, oh, that 1 or 2 or 3 days, that's the event. Whereas if you think about your community, then that's all year round. Right? So there's if you look at the posters, they are a piece of content that you use during the event to have people discuss their research or to show their work. But it's also content that is available all the time for your community that's part of the stuff that they have to discuss their work together, to find them. In a way, you have either if you're online or on site, you have the live event or the live sessions like we have one now, and you have the other moments that people are just browsing things or looking at stuff or contacting one-to-one with people, and those can be also online and on site. They don't have to happen during the 1 or 2 or 3 days of the event. So I think what we've learned by the pandemic forcing us to rethink the way we set up things is actually that you can drag it all out. So you can have the live event, you can have other events that are online or on site with smaller groups and larger groups using the same content, the same elements that you have in your live event.
I think something you were telling me.
Ongoing interaction between the people in your community.
I think something you were telling me earlier is how the posters themselves, they're such good content, they're such rich in information that it's almost a shame for them to be done at a one-time event. Like, and like you're saying, like community, like there's so much there that it almost needs to be viewed beforehand, like the videos, or viewed after. You're not going to view them at the round table, you're not going to watch a video. So there's some stuff that, yeah, it's there's so much meat there that it's good to drag it out, and I think that's something we're seeing in the event industry in general, is kind of these one-day events are kind of being dragged out into either like online hybrid, like a hybrid day, or an online day, or there's communities like around the poster, around the idea that people are asking their questions and not really getting an immediate answer, or they're expecting they'll go to a breakup session next week or something like that. The kind of on-demand aspect of it.
I think that is interesting. I know several people on this call have said about over the last year having meetings that would previously have been 1 or 2 day meetings and stretching them out. And I think that's really interesting, because I think that we have previously packed everything into 1 or 2 days because people were traveling somewhere. So let's make it worth them being here. Let's pack as much into that time as possible. It's actually difficult for people to get everything that they want from that time because it's so busy. So I think this stretching out of events is interesting. I think what's challenging for all of us, as Alison said, is if the client doesn't understand that stretching events and that involving both online and face-to-face is where there's more work involved. If they don't understand that, then that's a challenge for us to get the message across to them. Both 2 messages really, that what they then deliver is more valuable, but that obviously there's more work involved in some ways in making that delivery as well.
And it's something in controlling the time, lengthening it stuff, which is the reason we put the timer on here, is because if you're trying to cram in, like how it works physical events, you go round and round the posters, and the reason the time is there is so that when you could set it yourself, you could, okay, we're going to talk about this post for 10 minutes, and then we're going to go to the next presenter, and the next presenter is ready to talk about their poster. Like, to make it as like a physical event as possible, you shouldn't have to click anything to automatically send to the next room, like the walk. But and then on the other hand, if you want to stretch it out, it's also available before and after any time.
One of the things I've quite liked about platforms like NetworkTables that kind of move you from one session into another is it can have the issue of the, oh, I've just got one last question, and then the time cuts you off. But it does have the advantage of really helping people stick to their timekeeping, which I'm sure all of us have seen that in both on-site and online, where it can be difficult managing the timekeeping. You need a good chair at the session.
Exactly. We've seen if there's no timer in place, I mean, questions can go on, but that means, yeah, everyone starts getting split up. Like some people are in a different place, looking at a different poster in a different room, especially when it's like manually done with Zoom calls. You like you said, you almost need a chairman moving people along. But it's better just to automate that, I think, even if it means people get cut off.
And am I right, Tyler, in thinking your kind of automaton of moving people from one round table to another could also then be a bit like that poster tour that Alison described right at the start, where people are taken from one poster to another. In this sense, you could actually have a series of round table poster sessions that you join one after another, where you get to see
yeah, like here we've just had one after another, but if you wanted, you could be like, I'm going to join this one and then this one and then this one. You kind of choose your path where you want to go and where you want to go next. Poster interesting if you had more posters or more presenters, and you can schedule them at the same time or at different times.
Nice. Okay, I see with our time that we have only 2 minutes left now. So does anyone have a last question or comment that they would like to make before we all get thrown out? Like, no.
No?
Bill?
Okay, that's good. That's been good. It's been good to have the roundtable discussion instead of just speaking and talking about it. So that's been good. Perhaps if you've got anything more to say before we finish.
No, I just want to thank everyone for joining. It's been good to share the ideas like this. It sounds like we've given you food for thought at least. And so if you do have any, if you want to find out more, I think the emails that went out will have had email addresses for both of us, won't they? So people can get in contact with us. Then please do.
Yeah. If there's any more questions, you can get contact with us. Yeah, the contact was in the last email. But yeah, okay, I think that's everything.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Well, have
Thank
a lovely rest of your day, and very nice seeing you all again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.